Fort Eben Emael is located in Belgium, just south of Maastricht in Holland. It is in this area where the borders of Germany, Holland, and Belgium come together. It was here that a significant battle took place on May 1940. It was the first time that an army, in this case the Germans, were to use airborne troops in battle. This video is part of an audio walk of the outside of Fort Eben Emael. The outside of the fort can be visited on any day. Guides, however, are available on specific weekends. These specific weekends can be found at the Eben Emael website. This audio tour is meant to be used anytime to explore the top of the fort. Depending on which direction you approach the fort, you may cross two significant waterways, one being the Meuse River and the other the Albert Canal. In the vicinity of the fort, these two waterways created a significant barrier to an invading army. Fort Eben Emael was part of a defensive network tasked with protecting and, if need be, destroying the bridges in this area to deny or delay an expected enemy incursion into Belgium. The Albert Canal in this area branches off the Meuse River, and the fort is built here on the top of a hill called St. Peter's Hill. There is ample parking at the fort site. A visit to the fort will take you back to May 10, 1940, the beginning of the German attack on Western Europe during World War II. As you walk out of the parking lot, note the map. This will help you get your bearings for the walk. The trek we are about to take will be a walk to the top of St. Peter's Hill. Next to the map, you will find two memorials that you can wander through. These memorials are of the Belgian soldiers who lost their lives that day. The trails are very well traveled, so you won't have any trouble finding your way. Hopefully you have downloaded the audio maps from our site to make this a more fascinating and educational experience. Don't worry, it is a relatively easy hike, and once on top, it is level walking. The first structure you see is Block 1, the main entrance and access to the tunnel system. Taking the tunnel walk is an excellent 3 to 4 hour wander underground. All fort traffic and supplies came through the entrance. The area immediately inside the entrance were the main living and working areas, and these included shops, hospitals, administration areas, and now presently house several museum rooms. There is a nice coffee shop available inside as well. There are about 40 rooms varying in size depending on their purpose. Many of these rooms have been made up to resemble that time in 1940. This bottom level of the fort is an area that you can explore freely. Underground areas beyond this point require a guide to take you through the intermediate area into the tunnels and the gun emplacements. Back outside the fort, look down to the right and you will see Block 6. This is one of several blockhouses that protected the exterior of the fort. Note the anti-tank wall between the two blockhouses. Our walk will start behind Block 1, and a set of stairs and a trail lead you in one direction, up to the top of the fort. Take time to look back over the valley that stretches to the east. As you walk up the trail, note the quiet forested area. During the battle, there were no trees in this area to hinder the fields of fire for the machine guns and emplacements further up the hill. Keep an eye out to the right as you ascend the hill. The first structure you will see is V's 2. This artillery emplacement had its gun pointed towards the Belgian city of V's, located south of here. Now back on the trail, proceed until you come just to the field at the top of the hill. You will note a path that runs to your left and a large round structure. This was part of the ventilation system that provided fresh air into the underground city. Back on the trail, take the trail into the open field and proceed. You will see several structures as you enter the field. We will skirt the field on the right side, and as you proceed you will see another artillery emplacement. It is identical to V's2 in structure. This particular structure is known as Maastricht 2. In this case, its guns are pointed in the general direction of Maastricht Holland to the north. The main purpose of these guns was to protect the bridges to the north of here. Take time to explore. Feel free to climb over all the emplacements, but be careful. It's a long ways to the bottom. On the top of the structure you can see Eben 3. This was an observation post, and if you look on the top you can see the damage the Germans did by placing a hollow charged explosive that disabled the observation post. This was done within minutes of the German landing. Let's take a quick tour inside the fort. A quick tour of what you would find below a gun emplacement such as Maastricht 2. First, you would walk through a series of tunnels to get to the guns. At the entrance to the gun emplacement, you will see a series of rooms. These rooms included ammunition rooms as well as 2 large armored doors. These guns were heavily reinforced, and in case of emergency would be closed to seal the guns above them, thus denying access and protecting the rest of the fort interior. Behind the doors you can see the elevator lift stations that would be used to transport the ammunition to the guns. As well, you would see a series of steps that would lead you to the guns. Once at the top, you can enter the gun emplacements. In the case of Maastricht 2, there would be 3 75mm guns that made up the main armament of this particular bunker. Here is an example of the artillery piece you would see if you were down inside Maastricht 2. The artillery pieces in this particular emplacement are well kept, and the originals date back to 1935. These guns were the main purpose for the existence of the fort, as artillery support units to the armies in the field.
Soldiers here on the guns. You see there that, of course, that was put on the side.
It's time to carry on from Maastricht 2.
The shells were when they.
Follow the trail along the tree line and look to your right. Follow the trail to Blockhouse 5 and Cupola Sud. These 2 structures were built as one. The anti-tank ditch ran around the outside of the perimeter of the fort. As you look down this side, you will see the trench that leads back to Block 1 and 6, where we started this tour. This site had a blockhouse for fort protection, as well as dual 75mm artillery pieces that used the dome to rotate and could retract to protect the guns. Proceed back on the trail and turn right, then through a gate and proceed into the next farmer's field. From here, as you follow the road to the left, look into the tree line and you will spot Block 4. From the road, you can pick up a trail that will allow you to proceed to the bottom of the anti-tank ditch, which will enable you to see the structure from the ground level. Once back on the trail, follow it, and when it branches, take the right fork and proceed. You will be led to Block 01. It is here that you can see the significant strategic location of the fort. The observation dome on the top is called Eben 1, and from here you can see up and down the Meuse River Valley, and on a clear day to the east to Germany. Once you have enjoyed the views, head back on the trail that you came from. Head straight through the gate and look to your left. Here you will see Cupola Nord. Cupola Nord is the same as Cupola Sud that you saw earlier. In fact, if you look across the field, you can see Cupola Sud. This gun had the retractable twin 75mm guns, like its sister emplacement. This particular emplacement was put out of action within minutes of the attack. You will see a path that goes to the center of the field. Take this path to Cupola 120. Cupola 120 were the big guns of the fort. These twin 120mm guns could rotate and fire in any direction. Let's take another side trip to the underground. Between Cupola 120, look towards Maastricht 1. About halfway between the 2 structures and 40 meters underground, you will find the Combat Administration Complex made up of several rooms. These rooms were for senior officer team and administration personnel, and they would gather here during the battle. It was here that all encasements would report what was happening. They received information and issued orders from this location. Unfortunately, the German attack in 15 minutes succeeded in disrupting most of the communication network between the fort and its various artillery bunkers and blockhouses. The Germans had won the battle in those few minutes. Proceed either by taking a small road path on top of the berm that goes from Cupola North, or you can skirt the bottom of the berm. Either way, make your way to V's 1. Take your time to explore this bunker. V's 1 was one of the 4 identical bunkers with its 3 75mm guns. These guns could fire for 11 kilometers. They all received their orders from the combat administration rooms. Again, this gun emplacement, like the rest, would have stairs down to the intermediate tunnel area where ammunition would be stored. These 2 would have been manned by 33 soldiers. You are standing on concrete that in some places would be 2.75 meters or 7 feet thick. These emplacements would also be protected from aerial observation with camouflage netting. Once finished with these 2, it's time to work our way further down the road towards Meade Nord. Meade Nord and its sister bunker Meade Sud, that we will see next, were defensive bunkers armed with machine guns, and its purpose was to defend against infantry. You can tell you are on Meade Nord because it has a very distinct observation post on top called Eben 2. Both Meade North and Sud had 3 machine guns and searchlights to protect the fort from attack by infantry. Despite the millions spent to construct, Meade Nord was taken out by the Germans in the first minutes of the battle. Once you have finished, take the trail off the back of Meade Nord and proceed down the berm and tree line to your next stop, Meade Sud. Meade Sud should have had 14 soldiers manning the emplacement on the morning of the attack, but this emplacement during the crucial initial landings was not manned. The troops had been pulled away to help remove an administration building at the entrance to the fort. The Germans occupied this position within minutes of the attack. Proceed further along the trail, and we will start our descent back to the bottom of St. Peter's Hill. As you proceed down the trail, you will come to Maastricht 1. Again, Maastricht 1 is the last of the 4 75mm artillery bunkers on the tour. Maastricht 1 received the most damage from the attack. The Germans penetrated deeper into the fort here than anywhere else. They succeeded getting into the emplacement and down the stairs to the intermediate tunnel area. They succeeded in setting an explosion at the steel doors. The explosion killed and wounded several Belgian soldiers. The Germans retreated back up the stairs and destroyed the steps leading to the emplacement. Continue down the trail and you will come to Block 2. Note to your right the anti-tank water ditch. This ditch extended from here out to the Albert Canal. The Belgians tried to initiate a counterattack from this position. The Germans in Meade North and Maastricht 2 held the high ground, and the attack never really accomplished anything. From here, you will take the road to the left and proceed back to the parking lot. The attack on Fort Eben Emael is generally a footnote in most history books, and would be lost to history except for the fact of the use of paratroopers and the taking of the fort thought impregnable. There is a great little restaurant by the river where you can have a quick bite to eat after you trek around the fort. Remember that this video is a companion to the audio tour, found at audiotourtrekkers.ca. A special thanks to all the volunteers that work to help keep this historical site open to the public. Remember to visit their website for additional information.